Joining me now, Dana White, ladies and gentlemen. UFC 256 coming right up. Dana, you there?
Buddy? How are you?
What's going on? I know, listen, 256, it's like, how are they even going to put on this card? All these positive COVID cases. And then Figueiredo and Moreno step up. You got to love that, because I noticed how you talk about fighters who step up to save events. Like you talked about Conor McGregor, like quickly making turnarounds and going up in weight or down in weight, and what that means to your company. What do you think about the or a champion and his number one contender stepping up 3 weeks after fighting on the same card and making an event?
Yeah, it's incredible. Not only do I love it, and it's great for the sport, but the fans love it. I mean, if you're a real fight fan, you love guys like this that just fought, both come off incredible finishes, and then turn right around and fight each other again 3 weeks later. And like you said, it's the champion versus the number one contender. It doesn't get any better than that.
But why do you figure Figueiredo is such a big favorite over Moreno? But like at the UFC at this level, like we'll get to Dos Santos in a second, but like if he loses, is he out of the UFC? Because the UFC is the major leagues. You guys don't deal with bad fighters. The reason guys always lose eventually is because they're fighting one top fighter after another. Is there any fight between a champion and a number one contender where the number one contender should be a 3 or 4 to 1 underdog? Because that's what we have
you're
here.
right. Especially in the UFC, you never see that. The number one contender and the champion, it's usually closer. But, Figueiredo's been on a roll, man. This kid's an absolute monster. He's been destroying everybody since he's been champion, too. I don't know. That's how the odds makers have it. I don't know if that's actually, how the fight really plays out, but that's how they have it.
Listen, when you see odds like that, it really speaks to, I think, the opinion of the quality of the champion. Figueiredo is putting on very impressive performances, and so the odds reflect that. But in reality, we know at the top of the sport, at the top of boxing, at the top of MMA, there aren't that many real, 3 or 4 to 1 or worse underdogs when it's the actual number one contender. Like the gap between the elite and their top contenders is not what the public perceives. And that's why, especially in the UFC, you don't have many undefeated fighters for very long. What about Dos Santos on this card? Dana, tell me your thoughts on that fight.
This guy Ciryl Gane that he's fighting has had 4 fights canceled, and this guy's finally making his 2020 return. He's a beast. This guy hits like a ton of bricks, and he moves like a middleweight. And obviously, this is a very important fight for Junior dos Santos, who's in the twilight of his career, and an important fight for Gane. So it's a very fun heavyweight matchup on this card. This card is awesome from top to bottom.
Yeah. So when you say, is it Gane or Gane? I've heard it pronounced both ways. Are we saying Gane? Do I say Gane because he's favored to win here? Do I need to learn how to say Gane? Is that how it's said? Okay. Gane from France?
Yes, exactly.
Right, got it. What do you think his future is should he win this fight? What's the trajectory of his career
he's ranked right now and number 14, and obviously a win over Junior dos Santos, who is ranked number 7, would be a very big deal for him. It breaks him into the top 10, and it starts lining him up with fights with guys like Overeem, Derek Lewis. He's on his way, to the title.
And also, Tony Ferguson still on the card, right? I got to keep track of who is fighting on this card and who isn't, because these are times where you have to figure it out on the fly. Ferguson is fighting, correct?
Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. Number 3, Tony Ferguson versus number 7 in the toughest division in the entire sport. Ferguson is looking to get back into title contention here, and Oliveira just keeps setting records. I mean, this guy's in finishes. He's tied for number 1 with 16 finishes in the UFC. He owns the record for submission wins at 14. He's also the number 2 guy all time on the bonus list. This guy's won 16 bonuses, which equals over $800,000.
Yeah, for people who are interested, the UFC is a promotional company, but it's different than boxing because Dana White, my guest now on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio, was kind of like a boxing guy who was noticing all the mistakes being made in the boxing business and said, what if we had a fighting kind of a contact sport, a combat sport, where we could kind of start from scratch and create our own culture. So the UFC has achieved a dominant market position. It's not like some sanctioning body or just a promotional outfit in boxing. And because of that, you guys, Dana, control at least the plurality, meaning more than anyone else, of the best talent in the Western Hemisphere. So when you say it's number 4 Ferguson versus number 7 Oliveira, right? It's in boxing, that would be like a unification fight. In boxing, when you see the 4th best fighter at a weight class fight the 7th best, a lot of times they both have belts. But because you monopolize the best talent, there's only one belt per division. So a fight between contenders is a championship caliber fight by boxing standards.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we have a model where we go out and we find up-and-coming talent, the guys that we think have the potential to someday be the best in the world. And when you get here, all you fight are the best. There's no layups. There's no gimmies. So when you become the number 1 ranked guy in the world, you're the number one guy.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.